Hello CLAT aspirants, greetings from Law Prep. We are ready with a new passage for you, and your feedback, your plethora of response is really very good. Thank you students for being so, if I would say, being very much understanding in our, getting into our shoes and understanding our problems, our things, and the best that we are giving you at this juncture. It's just the countdown has already begun and we are just waiting for the CLAT, the final take. I'm sure, I am very sure, dead sure that the students of Law Prep, the CLAT aspirants, will really do wonderful, because it's actually a game. This CLAT paper 2021 is just a game of passages, and passage after passage will prepare you, like step after step you conquer difficulties. You'll be able to also do it wonderfully. Let's start with our passage for today. Now this passage talks about the report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee of the Home Affairs. Please note it. It's a very current passage about the contemporary times of the COVID-19, right? Which is all of us have experienced drastically. The report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs calling for a comprehensive Public Health Act as a response. They're looking forward to as a response to the extreme stresses. What are the extreme stresses? These are caused by the COVID-19. Is a welcome call to reform fragmented health system. What is our system like? Fragmented means into pieces. When the pandemic arrived, National Public Profile 2019 data showed that there was an estimated 0.55 government hospital beds for 1,000 people. Look up, what has the government done? Are these beds enough for these many people? Not at all. Prolonged underinvestment in public health infrastructure thus left millions seeking help from a highly commercialized private sector with a little regulatory oversight. The situation is even worse in rural areas. It has been very bad. That means there are not enough beds, there are not enough infrastructure to handle this pandemic corona. Where care facilities are weaker and urban workers fled to their villages, afraid of the cost of falling sick in cities. They are afraid that they will fall sick, so that is why. Acknowledging these distortions, these problems, and the inadequacy of existing legal frameworks, the panel has called for omnibus law. Omni root means all, as such a law which is applicable to all. Omnibus law that will curb means it will lessen profiteering during such crisis and provide robust cashless health insurance. Must have heard of Chiranjeevi, also Mahatma Gandhi's policies and various other policies launched in Rajasthan on the 1st of May. It's indictment of the feverish commerce surrounding healthcare provision, however, can serve a larger purpose if it covers overall system reform, addressing the structural asymmetry. What is asymmetry? A means not. So what is it not? It's not a symmetry, not a perfect symmetry created by misguided policies. India has committed itself to covenants such as sustainable development goals, but continues to evade. Evade means escape, making the rights to the health a full, legal and justifiable right under the National Health. I tell you some tips and tricks to remember. Suppose you don't know meaning of a particular word and a word joined by and but. That's quite clear. This is legal means it's right. So it is justifiable also means the same. If it is legal but some word, that would mean illegal. That's just a simple little trick to be kept in mind. It's not always every word you know the meaning. Wherever you don't know the meaning, apply the root. This means not, X means out, AB means move away or keep away, AC means sharp, AD means joint, or omni means all. Among the committee's observations, whatever observations the committee has made, it's exactly 450 words around for the passage. Observations in the absence of insurance cover for many and oversight as hospitals to ensure that patients are not turned away in a crisis such as COVID-19. While the panel is right to view this is a breach of trust, one of the pandemic's impact has been, what has been? a staggering rise in premiums, especially for senior citizens, up to 25% of the insured value. What is more, the insurance regulator, IRDAI, as the maximum age of entry for the standard policy earlier this year, affecting old insured citizens. What are these people going to do? Such age limits must be fully removed. The answer to creating an equitable framework lies in the tax funded system, with the government being the single and the sole payer to care providers. Government is the sole payer. There means only payer. Payment done by them. This is a long pending recommendation from the erstwhile, at that time, Planning Commission, and should be part of any reform. This should be a part of any reform. The government as a single player, if not sole player provider present, would be better able to resist commercial pressures in determining costs. This is equally applicable for central procurement of essential drugs, which can then be distributed free. Legal reforms must provide for a time-bound transition, that is a change, time-bound change, to universal state-provided health services under a rights-based, non-exclusionary framework, with states implementing means affecting it, applying it. Private arrangements can be an option. COVID-19 has exposed the dangers of excessive reliance on private tertiary care, because government, we don't get it. Where are we relying on? The private system. The corrective lies in raising public spending to the promised 2.5% of the GDP on public facilities that are universally accessible, right? Moving further now to the questions, I hope you've understood that government facilities are not enough and we are turning to the private sector. The first question. This is taken from the Hindu, that you can note very carefully. Which of the following represents an accurate summary of the passage? How could you accurately tell about the passage here? Very carefully. Now, COVID-19 has exposed the dangers of excessive reliance. We are too much reliant on the tertiary care. Yes, of course, it is right. Private tertiary care, we are responsible. The last two lines tell it. Parliamentary panel calls for a new law post COVID-19, a kernel of reforms. Yes, it needs to be reformed, right? When there are two answers, a very important tip, read all four choices very, very carefully, meticulously. The government as a single payer, if not sole payer, provided present, would be better able to resist commercial pressures determining cost. Of course, India has committed itself to covenants such as sustainable development goals, but continues to evade making the right to health a legal and justifiable right. Exactly given also. All four are given. Now, what is asked? Accurate summary. Does the whole passage talk about private tertiary care? There's just one line about private tertiary care. That's it. That's it. So, can we take it as a summary? No, no, dearies, not at all. Parliament panel calls for a new. What is this passage about? Is this passage about government as the caretaker, or is talking about sustainable development? What is this passage about? If one line, COVID-19. And so the answer, you've seen the trick I'm telling you? Wonderful trick. Because it's about COVID-19, we have to focus on COVID-19 and taking the summary, that is B, Bangalore. Turning to next question, second question. I hope it's visible to all. Okay, which of the following is closest in meaning to the word indictment? See, indictment is any kind of a charge or a blame that you put on someone. So here we have indictment. That means something which is an accusation. Please note, accusation, accused of and charged with. Please note the preposition along with it. Both are right, meaning the same, and the answer, that is charge. Impediment is an obstacle. Intrinsic is complicated, difficult. Involuntary is not on your own wish, not deliberately. Fill in the blanks with the suitable prepositions. That we have the four choices here for the prepositions. Here we go. Among the committee's observations in the absence, dash insurance cover. Absence, away. We can't go for away. Sorry, that would not be right. Absence, away. Absence, on. Can be. Of insurance cover. Cover of many, or for many. Now when we go for it very carefully, third blank would exactly help you to do it, and oversight dash hospitals to ensure that patients are not turned away. Because you can't turn out patients, you can't, just evade them, you can't run away from your duties in the government. And the answer, wait, have patience. 1 will not be right, 2 may not be right, but 3 and 4, somewhere the, the equation would work. Yes. Question number 4. Okay, so as we were doing the fourth question, this is the purpose of the Public Health Act. Now we were talking of that this passage wholly is about, yes, it is about the COVID situation, COVID-19, right? So, and what do we talk about it here? That we talk about that there were not enough facilities, and so people had to turn to the private sector. So it tells you about the exploitation which was there in the public health crisis, and better insurance was required. That is why we need a new Public Health Act. They were not enough, and so we turned to this. This is just by my mind mapping that we are able to do this kind of a question. Turning to question number 5, very interesting. Which structural asymmetry, first tell me before I turn to this, which literary device is structural asymmetry? Please note it very carefully. Structural asymmetry. So this is structural, this is asymmetry. Two opposite words. Two opposite words means which literary device, students? Very good. This is oxymoron. Right. So what is the structural asymmetry talked about here? It says clearly that private sector is dominating. Why? Because government is not giving this structural asymmetry. There are not enough beds to survive. 1,000 people and 55 beds. Where does the ratio stand? And that is why one created by misguided policies, not enough healthcare, of course. But then in this line, the symmetry is talked about is the dominance of the private sector and lacking in the public sector. Profit, yes, private sector wants to earn profit. That is also true. Keeping in mind, sometimes you can come across 2 or 3 answers. Choose the best appropriate one, apply it and see that why did this happen. Ask your mind a question. Do this introspection to get to the right answer. Right? Moving to the next 2 questions. Why does the author want the government to be single payer? Why government should be a single payer and the sole care provider to the citizens? Single payer and sole care provider. Now, when we have turned to the government scenario, the government will care for the citizen, unlike, because what is private sector doing? For profit? Profit oriented? Right? So we can't choose this. Government can implement laws more strictly. Government will never be insolvent. We have nothing about insolvent, nor we can infer this. The government is well equipped to deal with a crisis. Government is not at all well equipped. We have to focus on government so that people can rely on the private sector, public sector, of course public sector. And our answer, very much crystal clear, is answer 6A. Next question, which is closest in meaning to the word erstwhile. See, erstwhile is something which is no more in existence, not in woe, not in existence. Right? And keeping that in mind, the answer is obsolete, that is outdated. Right? Boisterous is very noisy, deliberate is on your own wish. Right? I hope you enjoyed the passage for today. You've understood each and every point. Everything is crystal clear to you. Do come up with your feedback and do like and subscribe our channel. We'll be coming up with various new passages for you. For today, thank you, students.